So Barb and Hope, thank you so much for hosting me, and great to see everyone. And by the way, I'm going to say up front that this is being recorded. The recording will be on Barbara's website under events, lifebalance.com events. And I'm going to put the PDF on my website, which is called wirelesssafetysolutions.com. It's actually in the lower right of my picture, the website. And the reason I'm going to post the PDF is that there are a lot of links. So if you have the PDF, you can just click on the links. So I'm going to start the presentation now. And I'm going to read it because it's a lot of information. So, okay, so tonight's talk is called Smarter Use of Smart Devices, Blue Light, Wi-Fi, and Sleep. Because of my lifelong interest in natural health, I've studied building biology and will be sharing practical information and suggestions for making your home and office spaces greener and hopefully healthier to occupy. While so many of us eat organic food and filter our air and water, few of us think about how our electronics might be affecting our well-being. Building biology was developed in Europe about 35 years ago to foster greener and healthier indoor environments. Aspects of green construction include building with non-toxic construction materials, filtering air and water, using clean light sources, using chemical-free cleaning products, assuring correctly installed electrical wiring that doesn't leak stray electrical fields, and managing interior and exterior sources of wireless radiation. Tonight, I'll be sharing the building biology teachings on greener use of our smart devices and electronics. To fully implement building biology's recommendations in your home or office, you can have your place inspected by a certified building biologist who will use various meters to evaluate your environment and offer remediation advice. Fixes may be needed if your electrical system is found to have wiring errors that are throwing off dirty electricity, or if stray electrical voltage in your bedroom or office needs to be remediated, or if you'd like to lower the amount of your indoor wireless radiation. I guess that's, okay, sorry. Okay. Anna, could you mute yourself, please? Hope, can you mute? Okay, great, thanks. Okay, why should we care about EMFs and stray electrical fields? Although we've all heard that EMFs and cell phones aren't great for us, most of us really don't understand why this is so or what to do about it. Everything wireless is our modern world, and there's no way to avoid it. In fact, it really does make all of our lives, and even mine, so much better and so much more fun. But we have to remember that for thousands of years, we lived on the earth without electricity. Our bodies are accustomed to living in energetically clean, neutral environments, and now we're living full-time in a man-made sea of frequencies. Even though most of us don't feel electrical fields or wireless signals, they constantly pass through and interact with every cell and system of our bodies. Arthur Firstenberg's book, The Invisible Rainbow, has a 5-star rating on Amazon and traces the history of electricity and radar from the early 18th century to the present. And he makes a compelling case that many environmental problems, as well as the major diseases of industrialized civilization, like diabetes and cancer, are related to electrical pollution. There are hundreds of biological reactions that our cells and bodies endure in the presence of both electricity and wireless. So tonight we'll discuss how to greatly decrease this electrosmog in our offices and bedrooms. The first thing is we can make a conscious decision to use fewer wireless devices and turn them off at night before we go to sleep. Second, with the help of a building biologist, we can minimize indoor wireless radiation. And if you like, you can actually install Wi-Fi blocking materials that are about 95% effective in blocking it out. And the third thing we can do is cut down on the stray electrical voltage that naturally emanates from electrical cords, even when devices are turned off. If we're more grounded and living in a more neutral, natural environment, we may find ourselves growing calmer, getting better quality sleep, and perhaps even having better long-term health. So I'm going to actually go to the chart first. So this is the electromagnetic radiation spectrum. If we look at the very top, we'll see that the waves, it's kind of like the second level down, we'll see that to the left, the frequency spectrum is very wide, like a jump rope. And as it gets to the right, the frequency increases. So on the left, we have electromagnetic devices, such as our old TVs, FM stations, old cell phones. As we go to the right, we get into wireless transmitters, we get into cordless phones, into our laptops. So what's going on with the technology right now is, as everything increases for faster download time, we're going to a higher and higher frequency, which is emitting a higher level of radiation. So, you know, very simply, we're going to faster and faster and faster, and each part of the spectrum has different biological effects that have been documented. So now I want to go back to, so what does EMF mean? EMF means that a field emits magnetic fields and electrical fields. And there are 5 sources of EMFs in our lives. The first source of EMFs are wireless frequencies used for smartphones and all wireless devices, including microwaves and radio waves. Extremely low frequency electric fields come from voltage, power lines, electrical wiring, electrical blankets, and electrical appliances. Low frequency magnetic fields come from faulty wiring, refrigerator motors, electric stoves, hair dryers, current that runs on our metal water system, and transformers outside of our homes. And then we have dirty electricity, which comes from cordless phones, computers. It's kind of the same. And then we have EMF that's coming from LEDs, which are really popular, including compact fluorescents and halogens. I'd like to say that everyone should be using old-fashioned light bulbs. They were supposed to be discontinued a couple of years ago, and then they stopped that. And I just read last week that they're gonna stop making regular light bulbs in the next year. And you know, they're very gentle. They don't have a lot of problems. I mean, we can't recycle them, but try to only use old-fashioned light bulbs and stock up on them, because LEDs have a lot of problems. So the next thing I want to talk about is electric cords. So even though our lamp is plugged into the wall, the cord is still hot. It still has electricity running. So what we're going to talk about now is trying to cut down the electricity that's coming out of our electrical cords. And there's a lot that we can do about this. So I'm going to go into that next. Okay, sorry. Okay. Okay, sorry. So my next slide is, how does wireless work? So everything wireless and Bluetooth works because there's an invisible handshake between the smart device and the transmitter. Outside in the world, the transmitters sending signals to our devices are cell towers. And the cell towers look like great big white piano keys, you know, at the top of buildings. We also get public Wi-Fi. Our smartphones connect with the cell towers for phone calls, texting, and data transmission. And it's also used for using apps. Indoors, the cable companies give us modems and routers to transmit Wi-Fi. And Bluetooth is a variation of Wi-Fi, which is about connecting local devices to work wirelessly. So the next paragraph has 3 different websites for anyone that wants to read the documented biological and health effects. So those links are there: the Environmental Health Trust, Physicians for Safe Technology, and for doctors and medical researchers, there's the Bioinitiative Report, which has 1,800 biological studies overseen by David Carpenter, who was the head of environmental medicine at the University of Albany. It's worth mentioning that some people do have strange symptoms caused by wireless and electronics, and about 1% of the world's population is actually incapacitated by it, and must live off the grid or in very remote areas. This electrical sensitivity is called electrical hypersensitivity, or EHS. Integrative doctors can help EHS people, and working with a building biologist to remove irritants at home would be vital as well. There's a TED Talk by Jeremy Johnson, who worked in Silicon Valley, on his EHS, and he's actually become someone that actually helps a lot of people, so those links are there. And by the way, I don't use a cell phone because it hurts my ears, and that's a symptom of electrical hypersensitivity. Some people, they get a buzzing in their hands, so these little symptoms we feel are a sensitivity, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to share this information. This is a picture of cell towers in New York City, or wherever it was. Okay, so now we're going to talk about blue light, and our screens emit blue light. So if we look at the bottom of the slide, we'll see that at noon, the natural light tends to be blue. Those of us who like to take pictures know that the sweet golden light is at sunrise and sunset. So the way that nature has always supported us is that during the day, around noon, the blue light keeps us alert and awake. And as the sun starts to set, our bodies prepare to go to sleep, our melatonin cycle, kicks in. And this is the natural way of our circadian rhythm. So our brains are wired to be stimulated by blue light. And so the problem is that all the screens that we look at have the noon color temperature. So when people are looking at their screens, at 9 or 10 o'clock at night, it is going to affect their sleep cycle. So there are a few really easy ways to manage this. And I assume a lot of you know this information already. So the first thing is blue light can really strain your eyes. I've heard people say, God, my eyes hurt so much. I've been on the computer all day. The second thing is that there is a possible risk for long-term eye health. My eye doctor says that the cornea and lens screen out the blue light, and there's no danger or concern for the eyes, and that there's been a lot of medical research on this. And he said that there is some evidence that suggests that ultraviolet light may be a soft risk factor for macular degeneration. So at the very least, we're all mindful that we should be wearing UV 400 sunglasses when we're outside. And for people that like to take vitamins, Jarrow and Life Extension both have blue light supplements that you can discuss with your doctor. I mentioned that people have trouble sleeping with too much blue light. So at the bottom of the slide, oops, sorry. So with your phone and your computers, you can actually turn on blue light protection. And when you turn this on your computer or phone, it will actually make your computer or phone more amber as we get toward evening. So at the bottom, there's instructions for the Mac, the iPhone, and Android devices. Generally go into settings, display, night shift. There's they have different names, but those would both be under displays and settings, whether that's Mac or Android. Okay, so there are a few other things that you can do if you're concerned about the blue light. One thing that you can do is buy a filter to put over your computer, over your monitor, or over your phone. There's a company called Redicare, and I actually have that on my iMac, and I just love it. It's a great big yellowish filter that I just put on my computer with Velcro. And they do have Redicare for phones as well. Personally, I have both pairs of the glasses that you'll see below. The orange glasses are $15 at Amazon. They're made by Uvex. And the pair on the right, which is more yellow, that's for what's called junk light. So, if you go into a shopping mall or, the grocery store, there's all kinds of fluorescents and all kinds of light sources. So the yellowish glasses are for blue light and junk light. The orange glasses are for complete blue light. And the links are there if anyone wants to look at them. Okay, so now we're going to go into greening our office, computer, and bedrooms. So as we know, we lived with electricity until about 175 years ago. Our bodies are used to and meant to live without artificial stimulation. So our goal is to bring our environments back to neutral with less electronic interference. So as we already mentioned, the first thing you can do is consider cutting down on wireless devices. Do you really need a smartwatch, or do you really have to ask Alexa about the weather? And the other thing we can do is consider going back to using Ethernet and USB cords as we did in the 90s. You can hardwire your keyboard, your mouse, your printer, and do away with Bluetooth and Wi-Fi if you like. You know, these are all small decisions everyone can make. So with all our electronics and our wireless, distance is our friend. So we want to consider moving electric cords and the little black transformer boxes and surge protectors further away from our bodies. The same thing goes with our modem or router. We'd like to move them as far away as possible. If the cable company installed the wireless router next to your desk or next to your bed, it would be wise to have them come back and move it as far away as possible from you. You really don't want to live on top of these transmitters. And another thing we'll cover is just turning off your wireless before you go to sleep. I mean, that's huge. And then the last thing is to be mindful of Bluetooth and disabling Bluetooth on your phone and on your computer, and go back to corded peripherals. Okay, we're halfway through. I know it's a lot of information. Okay.
Wait, Terry,
Yes.
someone said slides are not changing. They're changing on my end.
They're changing. Does it,
Kirk, I don't understand why. All right, whatever. Is anyone else having a problem with the slides not changing? Put it in the chat. If not, Kirk, it could be your computer.
yeah, and also this will be posted both on Barbara's website and on mine. And I'm sorry, I don't know. And by the way, a corded computer is much more reliable than a wirelessly connected computer. If you hardwire, anyone that does a lot of webinars or presentations, Ethernet connection by cable is much faster and much more reliable than wireless connection. That's, you know, just if anyone didn't know. So, okay, so now we're going to get a little geeky, and I think this is fun. So we're going back to the lamp cord. So remember, the lamp is plugged into the wall. The lamp is off, but the cord is hot. The cord has electricity. So if we're sitting really close to the lamp cord, we're going to get some stray voltage in our bodies. And in building biology, there's something called a body voltage meter. So you can actually turn on this meter and measure what these electric cords are doing, and if you have voltage running through your body, which, you know, rather probably it's not the worst thing in the world, but better not to. So, okay, so if we look on the right and in the middle, we're going to see two switches. There's a 2-prong and a 3-prong. So if you take the one on the right and plug it into the wall, and then you plug in your lamp cord, then what you can do is at the electrical outlet, you can stop the electrical flow through the lamp cord. And then when you want to use the lamp, you turn the switch on top and turn the lamp on. So if you were to put your computer printer plugged into one of these switches or your lamp, you could actually cut the hot wire to your lamp or your computer printer by using this on-off switch. I hope that makes sense. It's a way basically to cut flow to the electrical cord at the socket. So those are called on-off switches. You can get 2 or 3-prong on Amazon. And then the left picture is called a lamp timer. And this is what we recommend that people do with Wi-Fi. If you use Wi-Fi at home all day, you can get a lamp timer, which is made to turn lamps on and off when you're on vacation. My dad used to have a whole box of these, and when we went on vacation, he would plug all the lamps into here, and the lamps in the house would turn on at night. So what you can do is you can get a lamp timer, you can plug in your Wi-Fi, and you can set it to turn the Wi-Fi off between, 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. And that's thousands of hours of less wireless signals while you're sleeping, and it adds up over years and years. And the one thing to be aware of is that you have to make sure that if you're cutting your Wi-Fi, you're not messing with your internet or your burglar alarm. So many things are smart now. You don't want to turn off your Wi-Fi and have it make problems, with the rest of your system. So that's all stuff you can work on. But to me, the best thing anyone can do is turn off their Wi-Fi at night with a lamp timer. It has to be worked out, but that's something to consider. Okay, so another thing that we can do at our computers is to get electrical peripherals that also are made that are shielded already. You buy them already shielded. So there's a company called Electra Health. And recently I just replaced the cords going in and out of my computer and my surge protector. So on my Mac, I got a new power cord, which was shielded. So shielded cords don't emit any stray fields. So I don't even think it was $100. I got a new power cord. I got shielded Ethernet cords. I got a shielded surge protector. And I also got a grounding plug for my, I think my Ethernet cord. So now when I sit at my computer, there's very little emanating voltage, and I keep my computer printer turned off and unplugged. So basically I've decreased the amount of voltage for very little effort and very little money, again, around my computer. So a lot of us have heard about grounding. There are grounding mats. We hear that we should be grounding. There have been studies about this. So all grounding means is that we're connecting with the earth. The earth has a natural electromagnetic field, and it emits negative ions. And so if we were to go outside and just sit on the ground or sit on the beach or go swimming for 20 minutes a day, that connection with the earth almost resets us and negates a lot of the electricity, in our, that we absorb in our environment. So if you go for a walk outdoors, you have to wear leather-soled shoes. Unfortunately, that's what we did in the 70s with loafers. But if you wear sneakers, unfortunately, the rubber of the sneakers is blocking the flow of the grounding into our feet. So, if you wear moccasins or, whatever. So walking in leather-soled shoes or barefoot is great. If you do walk barefoot in the grass, you want to be mindful if you're in an area that has high Lyme disease. Sitting on a park bench in Central Park or sitting with your back against a tree for 20 minutes is grounding. I've also heard that if you take a bath in Epsom salts for 20 minutes, that is grounding as well, because that's, earthly. And the Himalayan sea salts that a lot of us have also emit negative ions, which are calming and also help negate an electronic environment. The last thing is that a lot of people inquire about grounding mats. And at this point, building biology recommends not using them because the electrical wiring may have problematic flow from faulty wiring. So building biologists say that we should not use grounding mats because we have to be sure that the electricity going through our homes is a clean source of electricity. And that's hard to know unless you have the building biology tested. Okay, now we're going to talk about your bedroom and a sleep sanctuary. So the picture below is a bed canopy. Maybe like people would use in Africa to keep bugs out of their sleeping area. But what's special about this canopy is that it's made with material of particulate, has particulate matter in it. It's soft as cotton, but it has micro metal in it. And so I actually use these. So basically, when you put the canopy down, it blocks out 95% of wireless. And I tested it all the time. It really works. So when I lived in New York, I lived on a higher floor. So I had wireless signals coming from my neighbors below me. So if you live in an apartment and you want to get a bed canopy, you have to get a sheet that goes under your bed to protect you from your downstairs neighbors, and then you close the canopy and go to sleep. So, okay, so lots of us have heard about the famous integrative Dr. Klinghardt. It was from Dr. Klinghardt that I first heard about the concept of a sleep sanctuary, which means sleeping in a bedroom that is free of electrical and wireless fields. This neutral environment permits our bodies to rest and heal more fully without man-made interference. So I just want to talk about living in a house versus living in an apartment. If you live in a house, you can control your devices and basically probably not need any kind of remediation unless you had electrical wiring problems. So again, in a house, the main source of problems are from your own devices. So if the devices are limited or disabled at night, most houses are really in pretty good shape. For people that live in an apartment, usually in a city, we have fields coming in from outside where there are cell towers, and we have fields coming in from our devices and from our neighbors. So with the help of a building biologist, apartments can be shielded, but they take a little bit more work and a little bit more money. Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about phones. Believe it or not, there's a lot that you can do with using your phone. So the first thing really we should do is we should talk over the speakerphone, or we should text. And please try not to put the phone next to your ear. At home, you can actually forward your cell phone to a landline, and when you're at home, you can just use a landline. The copper telephone, the copper landlines have been discontinued. So now if you want a phone, you have to get it through your cable company, and you have to get it through your modem. But another trick is to get a landline at home and forward your cell phone calls to the landline. Our phones have a ton of software built in. So one of the things that we want to do is disable Bluetooth if we're not using our phone with the stereo or with earbuds. So Bluetooth is something you can turn off. Also at home, we don't want to use cordless phones. They have very high EMFs. Stay with a corded landline. Okay, when you're out and about, and if you don't need your phone for phone calls or text, it's always a good idea to put your phone in airplane mode. That turns off all the signaling. So only do that if you don't need communication. Okay, lots of us go to the gym and we see lots of women putting their cell phone in their bra. That's a really bad idea because the cell phone is always working and pinging. So don't carry your cell phone in your bra, or guys, don't carry it in your pants. Try to carry it in a backpack. Okay, so this is something most people don't know. We really want to use our phones only when we have 4 or 5 bars. A lot of times we're in remote areas and we have like 1 or 3 bars, and that's not an ideal situation. When you have 1 to 3 bars, the phone actually has to work harder to connect and actually emits more radiation. So always try to use your phone when you have really good reception. For instance, if you're in the basement of a building, go up to the first floor. If you're in an elevator, wait till you're outside. Again, really important to talk on your phone when you have good reception. Our phones come with tons of apps, or maybe we've downloaded apps that we're not using. So what's going on with our phone is, say, you have Chase Bank app and you don't use Chase anymore. Well, that app in the background is updating, locating your position, doing all kinds of things. So what we want to do is we want to delete any apps that we're not using because they're all constantly keeping, a lot of stuff going on the phone. So try to delete whatever apps you're not using. In terms of generations of phones, we want to stay with older technology phones. So the iPhone 11 is the last generation of 4G. And there are articles, I actually have an article about it if anyone's curious, but try to stay with the 4G phone. The newer phones are just about having, lightning fast download speed for videos. So, sorry, there's someone, okay. And then the picture on the bottom shows an AirTube headset. So most headsets that we plug into our ears are made of wire. And when we talk with a wired headset, the electrical and wireless signal is traveling on the metal of the earbuds. So if you get what's called an AirTube headset, the signal and the sound is actually traveling through a straw, which is a little better. And there's a link for those two. Okay, so now I'm sure 95% of us have experimented with various kinds of gadgets and protective cell phone cases and pendants, and we've all had lots of these. So here's the building biology position. So I have meters that measure everything. I can measure what a modem's doing, what a cell phone's doing. But when you have an energetic device like a sticker or a necklace or a shungite crystal, we can't measure vibration on a meter. So what I would say to everyone is see if you feel well with it. Trust someone. Andrea has a Rayaway. Barbara has a product called U-Matrix. Work with people or dowsers that you feel can measure these things. I personally wear a pendant called a Rejuvenizer from Phyllis Light, and I use Andrea's Rayaway on my smartphone. And Barbara is working with a product called U-Matrix. So Barbara wants to talk about that now. So I'm going to go back to Barbara and she can talk about U-Matrix. And then we'll come back.
Oh, hi, guys. I am not working with them, but I go to a doctor who I trust, Dr. Schulz, and the U-Matrix, you could see it on my phone. I have it on my computer. You have to go do a training with them. It's backed by lots of scientific knowledge. So it's called, you can go to their site. It's called, I'll put it in the chat, but it's U-Matrix. And they have everything and they have tons of information. So I highly recommend it. And I'll put that in the chat.
Okay, great.
But you can get it direct from them,
Right. And again, I use the Rayaway. So Andrea is on the call. You can just Google Andrea, C-A-N-D-E-E. Everyone knows Andrea, but I use the Rayaway and I trust her on that one. I trust her. Okay. So, okay. So I'm going to go back to share screen. Okay. So, okay. So the next thing I want to talk about is EMF clothing. So as we saw with the bed canopy, there are materials made of particulate silver, and they do block, the signals. So the company that makes the clothing is called Less EMF. They're up near Albany. I wear the clothing if I fly. I wear them if I'm doing a lot of highway driving or if I'm in the city for long periods of time. I acknowledge this is my neurosis, but for anyone that's interested, there is clothing that you can wear. Okay, next page. Okay, a few extra tips as we close. Hybrid and electric cars can have very strong EMFs. And before you buy one of these cars, if you are sensitive, I would advise you to test it for an hour and make sure you feel well. My brother visited me last year and I was in some kind of hybrid rental and I got such a bad earache. It was really, really bad. So that's why I'm mentioning this. Everyone can react differently. So good to test cars before you buy them. If you use a heating blanket in the winter, turn on the heating blanket, warm up the bed and turn it off because that's a very strong source of EMFs. In terms of using laptops and all our devices, you always want to use them when they're on battery. You don't want to be charging your computer or your phone and using it because the voltage is running through the phone or the laptop into your fingers. So using devices when they're plugged into the wall will bring voltage into your body. And again, this isn't about scaring everyone. We're all doing these sorts of things. It's just to be mindful. Try to use your devices when on battery power. And these new wireless charging, pads probably aren't the best idea either. Best to probably charge your phones with the electrical socket. Okay, and there is one more thing that I forgot to say. If anyone decides to shield their apartments or shield their homes, you really have to have a building biology do it with you, because when you're shielding an apartment, you're turning it into a Faraday cage, which means that you're sealing it. So while you're blocking out Wi-Fi, you're also trapping it. So for instance, in New York, I basically shielded my apartment, which gave me protection from the outside, but I mindfully did not use much Wi-Fi in my apartment because it would have trapped it. So it's a double-edged sword when you're working with these kinds of things, and that's why you have to work with someone that's been trained, so they give you the right advice. So I've talked about working with a building biologist. At the bottom of the page, there's someone named Matt Woletsky. He's in Connecticut. His company is Healthy Dwellings. He does the consulting in the New York area. If you live elsewhere, the buildingbiologyinstitute.org. You can go on their website and find an expert and find someone that lives near you. And I just wanted to thank everyone. I wanted to thank Barb and Hope. And in a few days, the video will be posted and I'll put the PDF on wirelesssafetysolutions.com. Again, if you download the PDF, I've made a list of some educational videos. There are a couple of great documentaries. I put a list of books if people want to read that. And there are a couple of great websites which I've listed. And these are just some summary sheets that'll be attached to the PDF. So thank you all for your attention. I know it was a lot. And if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to talk about them.
First of all, Terry, that was awesome, incredible information, really very thorough and awesome. And there's two questions in the chat. One girl sent it to me and she has a EMF blocking blanket, not grounding, and she uses it when the computer's on her lap. Is that okay?
Yes. Yes. And the thing about wireless is that it's like water and air. It's very hard to seal out. So for instance, if you're using like the Wi-Fi clothing or Wi-Fi blanket, at the edge, there might be some seepage. So yeah, but it sounds like it would help.
Better than, I never even knew that. Better than nothing.
Well, no, even better, put the computer on the table. Or,
Right.
But I mean, if women are pregnant, there are people that are, want to protect, their bellies. So, that would be a case where maybe you would want to wear Wi-Fi clothing.
And someone asked about phone cases.
Well, again, we're going back to, the sticker that you're endorsing, which you really believe in, or?
I just like science, and I think people should go to the websites and read it. And I was really impressed that I couldn't just sign up. That they take a lot of pride in really understanding what they do. And there's one other. Kim is on the call. she said she heard, and landlines are dangerous because of the wiring. How do you get around that?
Yes.
I don't know why, I mean, I don't know why there would be signals on the line, on the landline. I haven't heard that before.
I read this.
The cordless phones are bad, but where have you heard that I mean, I guess there's electricity traveling on the, you know, the landlines now are connected to modems. So there is some electrical, I guess, energy going through the landline, but I haven't, I'd be happy to look at it, but and you know, so few people even have a landline now, but I'd be happy to know more about it, but I haven't heard that before. So I do know that if I'm on my landline too long, my ear kind of hurts a little bit. So maybe there is some kind of current, but I'm sorry, I don't know more about that.
I think, can you hear me? It's Kim.
Yeah.
Yes, hi, Terry. Thank you for everything. This has been really, really interesting. And I read this about 2-3 years ago, and I think it's because of the wiring.
Yeah, I don't know. And you know, what I was going to say about all the gadgets that a lot of us have, you have to go with what you feel. You know, there a lot of people use the Q-Link. I mean, there's so much different stuff. So you have to go with what makes you feel better or worse, or your intuition. But I know what you're saying. I haven't heard it before. So
Yeah. If I find it, I will share it with you.
Okay, thanks,
Okay.
Kim.
Thank you.
So Carol Lazar has a sleep tracker under her bed frame, and it's wired. Obviously, it's
A what?
working. A sleep tracker. Carol, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. So a sleep tracker tells all the stuff about your body while you're sleeping. You'll see it on your iPhone when you get up in the morning, and it has your breath rate and your pulse. It just tells so many things, how many hours you've slept. I mean, it's pretty amazing, but
I know, but it's a wireless device and it's interfering.
it's on Wi-Fi. Yeah. So I would have
I
to
mean,
plug it.
you know, if you know, again, it's if it's good for you, if you like it. I mean, these are all, you know, everyone's living with all this stuff. We're not seeing worldwide health disasters that we can directly attribute to technology. So, but again, you know, our bodies are designed to sleep on the earth, you know, with no, you know, but if you like it, it certainly sounds like it has informational benefits. But again, do we
I'm
need,
willing to shut it off. I mean, I knew when I bought it that probably it wasn't a good thing. But yeah, this is a reminder that I should probably shut it off.
well, no, it's not about shutting it off. It's about disconnecting all these things, because again, our phone is always active. Our phone is like constantly doing aerobics. You know, it's doing system updates, it's doing location tracking, it's pinging. There's so much stuff going on with our phones all the time that it's really better if they're shut off or put in airplane mode when we sleep, let alone cutting the wireless in your house. But, you know, look, this is how the world is, and it's a personal decision if you want to have those benefits. So,
Right.
Terry, Belle has a question.
okay.
Unmute yourself, Belle.
Thank you. Yeah, first I want to say thank you, Terry. Very timely that this was happening today. Hope that you created this little webinar on this, because here in Ashland, Oregon, where I live, I'm actually going to speak at the city council meeting tonight, because we have a huge cell tower that has been proposed to go into the middle of the Southern Oregon University football field. And it's, you know, within range of 8 schools and, you know, neighborhood. And we have no ordinances in
You know
Ashland.
what? I just realized, because I emailed you back, but I just remembered there's a woman up in Massachusetts, and I'll try to find her email. And she's involved with fighting all this stuff in Massachusetts. And they
Right.
got the city of Pittsfield, Massachusetts got the cell phone towers rejected. So
Yeah.
I'll find.
Yeah,
her
thank you.
information.
Well, I think that's,
She'd be one to talk to for that.
that's fabulous, Terry, because I think the thing is that when I'm just kind of awakening to this. And I, in fact, just in the last few weeks have started turning the breakers off in my in my home, around all of this. And I have to say, even though I was a good sleeper, I'm even a better sleeper, when I don't have any interference or my phone right next to my bed, or, just being mindful of getting all of that out of the bedroom. And one of the people that influenced me was Lloyd Burrell recently on an energy healing summit. And his website is also very helpful about just getting mindful about this very quiet, silent, we don't know what's going on.
Right,
Yeah.
and Lloyd Burrell is doing a lot of those free, those free summits, but Lloyd Burrell is also electrically hypersensitive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's how he got into this. And, you
Yeah.
can from the sensitivity, but.
So
he's
anyway,
really
thank you for
great.
what you're up to,
Oh,
because
you're
this is
welcome.
part of educating. I mean, really, we don't know what is going on because it's so quiet and silent, and it's in the atmosphere. But I loved what you said right off the bat about it's I kind of quoted from what you put out, Hope, about for thousands of years, we've lived grounded on the earth in sync with the rhythms of the sun and seasons. Our bodies were naturally in tune with and nourished by the earth's energies and cycles. And that's really, we haven't adjusted necessarily in our bodies to what's going on now in the complexity of these.
Well, it's so hard to know what is going on.
Yeah, right.
There's so many different things. So,
But thank you so much for your
welcome.
work in the world. Absolutely.
very sweet. All I do is drive my friends crazy. So,
Terry, someone wants to know if the EMF blocking fabric,
Yeah.
is that, as effective? Can you just drape that over your
yes,
devices?
you basically can have a bed canopy, but you really, some people may not need it. Like
But I mean, like if there's a computer and everything at your workstation, a friend of mine covers it with that fabric.
oh, you mean covering your computer?
Yeah, like if you,
Again, that's something for a building biologist really has to check it with meters, because it would really make more sense to turn off the Wi-Fi. You want to turn off the most powerful
no,
thing.
but if you're working during the day, will EMF blocking fabric help?
I don't know
Um,
how you would do it, because you have to be in contact with your computer. How
Well,
would
the
you?
way, the way to really make your computer area better is to go into system preferences and disable Bluetooth and disable Wi-Fi and go back to Ethernet cords. The problem is with the new laptops, I don't think they're Ethernet. You need USB and you need Ethernet. The iMac still has it. I don't know, what's going on with the PCs and the towers, but I mean, yesterday I actually was metering my computer and it was really high, and I found out I did a system upgrade and I think it turned on Bluetooth. So when I turned off the Bluetooth, the readings were much lower. But the whole thing is, again, if we could go back to a hardwired computer, grounded, cords, and but I don't understand why you would cover your computer with material, because it's, if you have
Andrea's got something to
I'm
say.
the one who covers everything with the EMF blocking fabric. And I do that because the person, I can't remember his name, who came and measured everything.
Matt,
So he measured everything. And once we covered it with the fabric, then everything emanating from the router, and I'm on Ethernet, everything's wired around my office. But this way, all the wires, all the ports, the router, the computer, everything is covered.
good. I mean, I understand. I'd have to see it, but Matt has all the meters, so that's good.
Terry, are you
It's an
open to
easier way
doing?
than covering all these individual wires? Just drape the fabric over.
But I have
Okay.
a question. So do you have a laptop or a desktop?
I have a desktop, and I
So
also
your-
put
so
that
your
fabric
keyboard.
over my printer and my cordless phone.
But I'm
All
trying
of that
to
may
figure out
work.
how you have a separate keyboard. So that's the only contact you have is on the keyboard, or is that draped too? I mean, I'm trying to visualize how you do it.
No, I don't drape the keyboard. I drape the router and the cordless phone and the printer.
Okay, so this would work, but cordless phone,
I
what
wonder if your printer, if you have a Wi-Fi printer.
I have a Wi-Fi
My printer is not Wi-Fi, or I disabled it. You know, a lot of the devices you can disable the smart function. On my TV, I turn off the, I go into my smart TV and disable the Wi-Fi. I took out the smart part of my printer software, so.
Well, certain things I wanted to keep. So therefore I cover it with the fabric. When I answer the cordless phone, I just remove the fabric for a moment, but all day long, it's right there on it. All day long, it's
Good.
covering the router and the printer.
got it,
I'm not
got it,
surrounded in my workstation by everything
right,
throwing off EMFs.
that's great.
It's just an easy way to do it.
We have some more questions. Patricia had a question.
Excuse me, Barbara, are you okay? Because I know.
Yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. Go ahead, Hopi.
But Patricia had a question.
Yeah, two things. I have a safe sleeve on my phone. I'm assuming that's helping. It just covers my phone and it's always closed. And when I answer it here and I talk through here, but my safe sleeve is always on.
That's supposed to be a good product. Again, I don't know because I haven't metered it, but that's a really popular product and I assume it's fine, but I'm not sure that the antenna, I'm not sure, you know, phones have the antennas in different parts of the phone. So I'm assuming that it's working, but sometimes the antenna is on the edges of the phone that aren't covered. So I don't know, but that's a reputable brand.
Okay.
I think testing these things is effective. I wanted to add, Dr.
I
Feynman.
have another question. I haven't.
Oh, sorry, Patricia.
Thank you, Barbara. I have a CPAP machine. Now that CPAP machine is plugged in.
Right, so I also have a CPAP and I actually keep it, so in my model, I keep it in airplane mode. So when I go to the sleep doctor, I actually have a memory card. So when I go to the sleep doctor, so all the sleep apnea machines, again, are all Wi-Fi enabled. And it's really stupid because people have sleep apnea and they're sleeping and the sleep apnea modem is transmitting their sleep apnea information by Wi-Fi when they're sleeping. It's kind of like when I was in the hospital once, they have all the cardiac patients on Wi-Fi cardiac monitors. And you know, that's the last thing you want to have a cardiac patient on a Wi-Fi monitor. So if you can go into your sleep apnea machine and see if you can turn off your Wi-Fi, put it in airplane mode. And then if you have a memory card, you take the memory card to your sleep doctor and they can take your data off the card. But what I've also done, see, there's something I didn't go into, which is you can actually put your electric cords in a tube. So if you email me, I actually have the sleep apnea electric cord handled a different way that I didn't go into. But whoever mentioned the sleep, Pat, you mentioned the sleep apnea machine. See if you can get it to put it in airplane mode and just take the card to your doctor. You may not, I have a ResMed AirSense.
That's what I have.
Okay, so you should be able to put it in airplane mode. And if you contact me, I'll tell you what to do with the cord. Because
Okay, what is your email?
it's
on
just
her. By the way, I want to tell everyone that Terry is very reasonable and does consults,
No, I
you know,
don't.
obviously paid for consults and
I'm not consulting, but I'm happy to help people.
not, okay.
Yeah,
I
but,
tried. I tried, Tara.
I know,
Um,
it's called Wireless Safety Solutions, and you can just contact me from there. I'm happy to talk to anyone and help anyone, but you know, I tried doing it professionally for a little while and it wasn't for me, but I love sharing information. And Matt Walitsky has, you know, it's his full-time career and he travels, and I'm happy to supplement information. I think I have things to add to Matt's findings that Matt doesn't go over. So I'm always happy to help people.
That's so nice. I wanted to ask, Dr. Feynman put something up on the board, which looks really interesting, which is about the ion generators. Can you talk about that, Dr. Feynman? Okay, maybe he's not here, but
I
he
think,
wrote, what?
I think he's gone.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, anyway, it looks interesting. And he says Hammacher Schlemmer carries them. I don't know a lot about them, but it's worth looking into. He's a holistic vet and very knowledgeable about this.
So I have a question that somebody else has. I was going to ask you tonight. And so Fiona in Australia has this question about covering up your outdoor meter, doing a kind of Faraday cage. I know they have these cone things and all these
Right,
things.
right.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So, this is why I'm not doing active building biology, because there's a lot of education, and I just did the very basic training, so I know all the basic stuff. But again, when there's much more advanced training, which Matt has, and that's why I'm not doing it. So there are different kinds of smart meters. And I learned this when we checked Barbara's smart meter, when Matt checked Barbara's smart meter like 5 years ago. In different states, there seemed to be really poisonous, bad smart meters, and
Yeah.
other states seem to have smart meters that really aren't as problematic. So when the smart meters started, people were having huge trouble in California. A lot of people got electrically sensitive, a lot of people got sick, and they seem to have very bad smart meters in California, and they seem to have bad ones in Canada as well. There was a documentary that came out of Canada called Take Back Your Power, about the Canadians that fought the utility companies. So that would be, there are people that do building biology in Australia, and she should really look for someone in Australia or contact Lloyd Burrell. I think he's in England, or no, he's in Scotland, I think. But that would be for someone local, and there are like these cones. So the thing about smart meters is, especially what was happening in California, if someone's bedroom is next to the electrical meter, those people were getting really sick and they were having a lot of problems. So, it depends if the smart meter is, really far away from your office and your bedroom. And in Connecticut, it didn't even seem to matter. So it seems to depend on the model and the placement. I think, yeah, so.
Do you know if the electric companies can do the remote readings if one of those?
Oh, well, again, it's like the same thing with maintaining the copper landlines. Everything, the reason Wi-Fi is the agenda is that it's cheap. Everything's just transmitted from the base station. They don't have to maintain the infrastructure. The same thing, it's like they're firing all the people that go around and read the electrical meters because they're Wi-Fiing everything. And it also has a surveillance aspect. They know when you're using power. They know when you're at home, when you're, your cable company. I mean, on my TV just last week, I had to install Google on my TV. Now they're going to know everything I watch. It's just Wi-Fi is cheap. And that's why they want to do it, because it eliminates manpower. It eliminates jobs.
But this doesn't address if there still are meter cars going around, if there's one of these devices on the meter, do you know if the meter can still be read by them?
Oh, I see your question. I don't know. I know. Yeah. And the only reason to put the cage on the meter is if it's causing problems to your home. I don't know. But I understand. I don't know. I don't know that they drive around and do it with the car anymore. Maybe they have. I don't know.
Okay.
Yes, I'm sure there are people in Australia that can be local resources.
Yeah. Okay. She says she's going to follow up. Linda, did you have a question?
Yes, I have a Hippocrates Health Institute pulse necklace. I wanted to read a little bit about it to see what you thought.
By the way, Deborah Duchin is nodding because she went to Hippocrates, right?
Well, they researched and they had these necklaces made. And I wanted to read what's in them. A quartz crystal, premium tourmaline, medical grade silicone infused, proprietary 7-step process activation of elements referred to as pulse activation. Every HH pulse is batch tested, and it's not steel that is around it, it is titanium. So I wondered what you thought about that.
You know, it's back to the discussion of the vibrational things. If you feel good, and Hippocrates is amazing, so I'm sure they're all good things, but I don't know. There are just so many of these things, and, you know, I
I mean,
don't know.
is there research? I think that's, you know, where is the empirical research? That's what I think people need to ask for.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, they did all kinds of research to
Good.
create this.
Deb, did
So-
you want to say something?
I wanted to ask if anyone, like maybe 25 years ago, I went to a class by Mark Hyman's sister, Carrie Hyman. Did anyone know her? She was talking about this before. She said one day you're all going to be sitting around trying to figure out how to avoid all of this. And it was when cell phones were first coming out, and she said, whatever you do, never give a toddler a cell phone, because she had pictures of what it did to their, I mean, it was
Wow.
amazing. But she ended up dying from a cancer that was caused from this, which is, no one ever talks about her. It's really interesting. But I just had a flashback of her meeting, of her class that I took. But I wanted to know if anyone's ever heard of a VitaChip. I was given a gift from a friend in Belgium. They're all over Europe. They're much more expensive getting it here than if you were in Europe. I have one on my phone. Supposedly, they're supposed to be helpful. Has anyone VitaChip? Yeah, they're more well known in Europe than here.
Yeah, there's so many. And Barb, what was that system you got with those like clear plastic things with the computer coatings on them? That was a system people got a few years ago. There's just been so many of them.
Which one?
Remember that system where there were different clear things and they had like etchings on them? I don't even remember what it was called.
I think what's important for people is, actually, I could send it, if anyone's interested, this pretty renowned doctor I go to, you can print it out, has this, it's a piece of paper, and you tape it in between your, you know, on your chest. And if you have it with you, if you're not feeling well and you put it on and you start to feel better, there might be certain places you visit, or perhaps your bedroom has too much going on, but this is supposed to help. And I think at different times, your immune system is more impacted, but I'm happy to send it if you want to try, try it out. And if you're not feeling well and you start to feel better, that might, kind of provide some information to you.
What's that called?
It's Dr. Schulz's, it's
Barb,
something
Barb,
that, yeah,
Barb, can you put the PDF in the chat for people to download?
I don't know how to do that. Well, what I can do is just, if you email me, I'm happy to send it to you. Hold on a minute. What it is you print it out and you cut them and you fold it in half and you tape it between your chest, kind of up here at C7 or whatever they tell you. And if you start to feel better, then it means you might be being affected by the EMFs in your environment.
I want to just address Julianne's question about Qi-Home, I don't know how you pronounce that, which is supposed to mitigate EMFs. Have you heard of that? QI Home,
What's it called?
Qi-Home.
I haven't.
Okay.
There's so many,
There's
that's
so
the
many.
thing.
There's so many.
And we're so ripe for this, but I'm just looking it up. There's a company now that if you send them your address and your phone number, they supposedly, I wonder if this is the the company where you have to sign up with them? Is that the company?
I don't know. Dana has a question.
Hi, so
Thank
I'm curious about the Healy. Doesn't that have bioenergetic defense or something like that?
Yes.
I mean, it has, so, I mean, should we be looking at that? And Terry, do you know anything about that?
I don't, I mean, again, in 20 years, we've all been through so many gadgets. And you know what I was thinking? There's so many different kinds of vibrational things going on in devices, and we all have different stuff going on. We all have different stuff around us, and maybe some of us resonate better with certain brands and certain people don't resonate with them. So, I mean, again,
Yeah.
I body douse. I can't do anything, I trust the body dowsing, and that's what I do now. But I think some things might be good for some people and not good for others. And that's why, Andrea and Hope, who are, professional dowsers, when we all do it a little bit, but, that's why with building biology, we focus on cutting the source of the transmissions and blocking them. But I wear, my Phyllis Light Rejuvenizer, which is supposed to, there's just so many of them. I don't know that there's an answer.
Okay,
So-
one other question. Where do you get that netting for the,
You get the bed canopy. I mean, I could tell you where to get it, but the thing is, you have to make sure that you don't have electrical fields, because I checked with the company yesterday. So remember we were talking about faulty wiring that can be in a house?
uh-huh,
If your bedroom see, you can have perfectly functional electricity, but your electrical wiring in the basement can have problems. There can be things that are problematic, which are called harmonics, and they travel along your electrical wiring. Or if your neighbor lives in an 85-year-old house and never fixed their wiring, your neighbor's faulty wiring can affect the electrical wiring in your house. So
oh,
can't put in a bed canopy. Well, first of all, you may
no,
not.
I'm in a condo,
Oh, okay. Well, where do you live? In New York or Connecticut?
Connecticut.
Yeah, so really Matt should come. I mean, the problem is, again, if you have any kind of electrical stray fields, they can on some level electrify the bed canopy. And the electric bed, the bed canopy is non-conductive, meaning it doesn't transmit, electricity, but there is some kind of reason. So yeah, if you could have Matt, I think he may.
Okay, okay. If I were,
I think he charges $350. It's healthy
Mhm.
dwellings. And,
mhm. Mhm.
again, if you're on the ground floor, you may not need it. It's better for him to check.
No, I'm up, but, okay. I have no electronics at all in the bedroom. I've always been that way, just nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it's called safe living technology, but it would be better if Matt double checks it for you.
Yeah, okay.
And depending on the size of your bed, it's between like 1,200 and 1,600, but you just get it once.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Andrea, did you want to?
I wanted to say I like the very simple ways of approaching things. And another thing that Matt taught me was I have an electric bed. Didn't think anything of it because it's plugged in and I may not use it for months at a time. He said, when it's plugged in, he measured and it was throwing off a lot.
Huh.
So he suggested, and I
voltage?
did. I
A
got
voltage?
a Belkin, Belkin, a Belkin surge protector. Plug that into the protector. It's under my bed, and that comes with a remote. And the remote sits on my nightstand. So it just gets anything that's attached to the surge protector, including the bed, just gets turned off with the remote. Very simple.
It was electrical fields, not Wi-Fi. It was voltage.
Right.
Right, and also if you have a metal bed frame, that also conducts voltage. It's better to sleep on a wooden bed frame.
Yep.
Wow, that's so interesting. Well, I'm glad. See, that's why you want to, someone like Matt check things, because
It's worthwhile. Yeah, it's worthwhile having it checked. And then it makes you feel good when you find out the areas that are good.
Andrea, are you saying, does it shut off everything in your room, that surge protector, or just the bed?
Anything I plug into it.
But again, if
Like,
you.
for example, I have my cordless phone next to my bed. I have that plugged into the surge protector, and with the remote, I turn it off when I go to sleep.
And
So the
Andrea,
phone is in airplane mode, the cordless is off, the bed is off.
And Andrea, if you wanted to get the Electra Health Surge Protector, that whole thing is shielded because with the, I don't know about Belkin, but the electric cord from the Surge Protector, that's going to have some fields, but the Electra Health, even the electric cord of the Surge Protector is shielded.
That's
It-
interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
but, You know.
Well, thanks, Terry. It's a great presentation. Thank you.
Oh, thank
Terry, so you're saying
I know.
there's,
My
Terry,
my OCD has served some purpose.
Terry, so there's a surge protector that by Electro Health, that's actually
Electra.
Electra Health. So that would be the one to get because that's protected too, right?
Yes, so what makes a cord shielded is that it has metal around the wires. So an old-fashioned lamp cord, you know, those brown lamp cords from the 50s and 60s, you know, those throw off the fields. But if you get a shielded cord, it's actually wrapped inside with metal that's containing the electric fields.
The other thing I wanted to say is even that simple thing that you said, especially for people who have the genetics of macular degeneration, to put that filter on the computer if you're at your desk a lot. I mean, that in and of itself, just these little things are so helpful.
Yeah, but you know what? Dr. Mercola really has written a lot about blue light. And the problem is my brother was on the call and he's an eye doctor and he's really straight. So I had to go and say that it wasn't a problem, but you know, Dr. Mercola really feels it is. So, and the other thing that I wear those glasses for is I can't take those LED car lights at night. I mean, the car lights now are blinding. They're
Oh, horrible.
So if you wear just even those yellow glasses, the true darks, it cuts the glare, but I don't know why they're making car light. I mean, they're cheap, but they're horrendous. I mean, don't we all, it's like, they're horrible.
And Terry, one last thing before I get off, I want to ask you, you're just saying all the LED lights should be replaced by regular old-fashioned light bulbs, right?
No, I wouldn't say everything in your house. I would say that if you have a lamp that you use a lot, you know, use an old-fashioned light bulb. But if you're putting lights around your house and you turn them on and off and you're walking through the hall, maybe it doesn't matter. But I mean,
But what do the LED lights do? Like, what's the
they
deal?
actually have some radio frequency, meaning, again, this is stuff I don't know the technical stuff, but apparently some of the LEDs throw off some kind of harmonic, some kind of frequency. So, you know, look, if they're outdoors and they're, you know, guarding your house, I don't think it really matters. But if they're on the lamp, you know, next to where you sit all day, I'd probably want to have an old-fashioned light bulb. You
That
know,
makes sense. That
I
makes-
agree. They feel much better. We have two more questions. Let's just, and then we'll wrap it up. Patricia, you had another question?
I'm just wondering about if Terry has ever heard of something called a Wheel of Life. I've been wearing this for about 15 years, Terry.
did you get that at the New Life Expo years ago?
20 years ago, they sold it for $2,000, a gold one.
Yeah,
And
I remember those at the New Life Expo. I bought some version of it. You know, I mean, I've been through so much stuff. I think I did get something like that. And I you know, I don't know, you know, anyone who remembers the New Life Expo 20 years ago, boy, you know, the guy walking around with the pyramid on his head. Oh my God. But you know, who knows? You know, again, I think more and more that human beings, and especially people in this whole new age thing, I think we're all like have different, you know, spiritual ET lineages that are gravitated toward like these different kinds of healing devices. I had you know, some of us know John Butler, and a lot of people were wearing a Q-link. And then John Butler's clairvoyant, and John Butler said, don't wear the Q-link. It creates an etheric hole in your chest. So I got rid of my Q-link, but I met someone who loves their Q-link. So I just think that we're all different and we have to figure out what of these energetic things work for us. And personally, I just body douse. I body douse which brand of vitamin C to get and which eggs to get at the supermarket. So the body dowsing works for me, but I can't douse anything for the life of me other than that. So.
And, okay, good. And then, Linda,
And
you have a last
and-
question.
And aren't we lucky we all found each other? I mean, how many people in the world can we talk about this stuff with?
Linda, you want, this is the last question. Can't hear you.
Sorry, I didn't pull the hand down.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Already asked my question.
All right, good.
Thank you.
Guys, I just want to, Hope, I know you'll wrap it up, but I want to thank everyone for coming on. But Terry, I'm blown away by your presentation and thank you for caring because you care and that comes through. Yeah, that's anyone wants any information, you can give me a call or email me or Hope and stay well, everyone.
Thanks, Barb. Thanks, Hope. Thanks, everyone. See you all.
Thanks, Barb.
You.
Thanks for
Thank
coming,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Great to see you.
Bye,
Okay,
guys.
night,
Bye, Tara.
night.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Where
All
did
right,
Terry get off already?
I guess so.
Oh my God, that was quick. Bye, Hope. I'll speak to you
Bye,
soon.
honey. Okay.
I'm not standing up yet.